Welcome back to the Life Better podcast, where we talk about how life is so much better with God, community, and purpose. Josh, not that long ago, I was listening to a leader explain how the default emotion for much of our society, because of all the different things that have been going on, is distrust.
Yeah,
And
fair enough.
and when I heard that, it was that's a shame. And then he goes on to even explain how, yeah, even just like 10, 15 years ago, there might have been a general like questioning, can I trust you? Can I trust them? And then even going back like 30, 40, 50 years ago, there was kind of a, yeah, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But today, it's no, I am definitely not going to trust that group. I'm definitely not going to trust those people until I see evidence otherwise.
Yeah.
Have you noticed, sensed any of that?
Yeah, I mean, especially the rise of AI and stuff like that, like you just can't, you can't take pictures at face value anymore, videos even at face value anymore.
Even
And it's like,
even songs by artists. It's like, well, no, that's actually an AI generated song now, right?
yeah. So I don't know. I feel like that makes sense that that's the trend. Because if you start distrusting your technology,
Yeah.
you're going to start distrusting people,
Yeah.
like all of that. So yeah.
And then, of
Makes
course, politicians don't make it any better. I think people have not trusted them for a while, but now
Yeah.
it's like a whole nother level. I've noticed even for me, as a communicator, that people will fact check me while I'm communicating. Like they'll grab their phones and they'll just like fact check me. I've been in meetings where I will actually say something like, "Hey, this is something," and someone will grab their phone, they'll fact check me, and then right in the middle will say, "Oh yeah, no, Jonathan's actually right according to blah 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 blah." And there's a part of me that's like, well, at least I was vindicated. But Jonathan's actually right. It's like, man, so you
What's
weren't
getting
gonna,
me is actually.
yeah, it definitely wasn't giving me the benefit of the doubt, right? So we have this growing lack of trust, and as you pointed out,
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take a genius to realize that that's going to create problems. Like every single healthy, growing relationship has to have at the foundation trust. And when you think of growing community, well, you have to have trust. And so what we're going to do today is, we're going to try to give a formula to build trust. So this is going to be great for parents that want a greater trusting relationship with your kids. This is going to be great for educators. You want a greater level of trust in your classrooms. This is going to be great for leaders. This is going to be great for people who are leading teams at church.
Yeah.
If you have a space in your life that you need to grow a deeper level of trust, you're going to want to pay attention to this formula. Now, I'm not going to share what the formula is yet because you and I were going to play a game called Who Do You Trust?
Yeah.
And so a few months ago, we did a ranking game on the podcast. And so we're going to do another ranking game. I've got a list of 10 different groups, 10 different people. And on this list, you're going to have to determine who you trust the least and the most. Let me just read the list, and then we're gonna go ahead and go with 10 you trust the least.
Yes.
And the number 1 you trust the most.
For sure.
So we got financial institutions, the military. We've got nutritionists. We got politicians, reporters. We've got YouTubers, scientists, police. Me, Jonathan. I'm on the list.
Awesome.
And then doctors, nurses.
Yeah. I'm worried that people watching or listening will realize just how cynical their youth pastor that they've hired is. I have a natural positivity, but I have a natural distrust of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And Emily laughs at me like
You're such a
you're
such a nice guy,
yeah,
Josh.
like of course
but
you
not
trust
there.
everyone.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to trust, like there's just walls that I have with certain things, and it's because of broken trust.
Yeah. Who would be number 10? Like the
That's
least
hard.
trust.
Yeah.
I have my guess for you.
Okay. Do you want to guess?
My guess is the politicians for number 10.
That's a pretty good guess.
I don't know if that's true or not.
So here's the thing with trust, and we're going to talk about what it means to trust somebody. Each of these I trust in some small way.
Sure.
But if like let's say I had a kid that I needed to trust somebody with, Jonathan would be pretty high on that list because I actually know you, other than all of these others.
Right.
But it's just other things I wouldn't, I trust them to be corrupt, or I trust them to be self-serving.
Yeah.
And I would say a 10-9. Sorry for those of you that are like, am so into politics and all of this stuff, but politicians reporters
Okay.
are probably my 10-9.
Is that right? Okay.
Just because, and I don't want to get too much into it, but like the fact that people can be bought, people can, people all get paychecks from someone, and they want more power, and all of it is kind of, I don't know. I look at it not in the best light.
Yeah.
So that's 10-9.
But now we're gonna get some
yeah.
closer to the trust barometer here.
Yes. So depends. So here's the thing. YouTubers can kind of fall into 10-9 in the sense that they also get paychecks.
Yes.
They get sponsors. And so I naturally, whenever I hear somebody on YouTube pushing something, I have to look in their description. I have to look in all these things. I'm like, are they showing me links to the things that they're trying to push? And so I have a kind of, I do learn a lot from YouTube. So I do trust YouTubers in some things, but I have a natural distrust of products being sold. And I think everybody should.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's like, this is the miracle product for my home and I use it all the time. They probably don't. They probably are getting a nice little paycheck and they got that product for free. And so, just be careful. With that, I don't know a lot of nutritionists, but a lot of them are also on YouTube.
Yes.
And they have the same problem where they get all of these stuff that they push and they get a little bit of money back if you buy their stuff.
Especially if it's their own. You know, like if it's like, and we've got, and we've
so
created,
bad.
and we've mixed, and it's okay, who's we? Like, because you can pretty much put anything into a supplement, and the FDA isn't even like able to monitor it, right?
Yeah, and with that too, like, again, I feel really vulnerable here, like being very cynical in front of everyone.
John.
No, it's okay. But like I've grown up in a time where like ways to lose weight and ways to get in shape change so quickly. Like this miracle product that everyone should be eating was considered awful for you like not too long ago. And then it changes again, right? Like I grew up, everybody told me like, please avoid things like cottage cheese, like, because apparently cottage cheese used to be a health product. And then we realized, oh, not so good for you.
Right.
And then now it's like back. It's like this miracle like protein thing. And I'm just like, I don't know, guys.
Yeah,
like,
I would agree. When it comes to nutritionists, depending on who you're talking to, they will say it's the best or it's the worst. And it's like, okay, I don't understand who I can believe. Like, it's really hard. I agree with you.
Or like, and I just avoid like a lot of like fake sugars now too, but like stevia or like these other things, people are like, it's amazing, it's incredible, and then other people are like, it's not been tested, it could cause cancer, and it's like, I don't know who to believe here. So that's number 7. Now we're getting into things that I do fairly trust. It just depends. A lot of them still can be kind of self-serving, and so I'm gonna start putting things like, again, I trust things that are less self-serving.
Sure.
So the next most self-serving thing I think is financial institutions.
Yeah.
I trust my bank. I love CCU, but I also know that CCU would love it if I maxed out my credit card and I was in debt to them for the foreseeable future. So I don't necessarily trust them fully. You know, like I'm going to be responsible and I'm going to be very careful with my money, and I'm going to pay attention to what they do with my money. Next up, gosh, okay, 5-1. This is in the positive category, guys. Like, right, all of these I trust fairly well. I know a lot of people in the military, but the military powers that be, I don't necessarily always trust. And I'm not trying to be very political here, but they're like with all of these, everybody's self-serving to some degree. But most people in the military,
your average infantryman,
very trustworthy.
Yes.
Which is why I'm like, I
but
don't
the
know
commander
where
in
we'll
chief,
go here. I don't know.
maybe not so
don't
much.
Know. But all of these are like I trust them pretty well. But my day to day, I trust next up military scientists probably next. So I'm gonna go military 5.
Okay.
Oh no, I took the paper off.
I got you.
Tape off.
I got you.
And then scientists.
Okay.
I think science we can learn a lot from as long as they're actually doing science and
Yes.
not just blatant, like, as long as they're not,
I've created a theory, and I'm going to work this until that theory is proven.
until they are corrupted by sponsorships and paychecks, I think scientists are trustworthy. Next up, I think I trust all three of these pretty well. If I'm in a dangerous situation, police.
Yeah.
If I'm dying, doctors and nurses. And if with everything else, Jonathan.
You know what? So wait. So who's number 3?
I'm gonna probably put police.
Okay.
And then doctors and nurses, and then Jonathan.
You know what?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because I'm sitting right next to
No.
you. I was thinking about putting Emily on the list, and I thought it would just be a no-brainer number
Yeah,
1.
she would be number
So I
one.
was like, well, maybe if I put me on the list.
Yeah.
all right.
No, I mean,
woohoo.
like, with everything else, like, with everything personal, like, I'm not gonna open up to a doctor about everything going on at work.
Right,
Or about, like,
right.
my emotional state. So I trust Jonathan more than I trust everybody else on that list. But
Well, thank you, Josh. That makes me want to extend trust to you as well.
yeah. How does it feel to know that I trust you more than our military?
Yeah,
police,
well, I will say this:
doctors and nurses?
if we were being invaded by another country, I doubt you're gonna be like, Jonathan, take your gun.
Different kinds of trust,
Let's
right?
take on these guys.
Different kinds of trust.
It's true. It's true. Well, as we've pointed out in the beginning, there seems to be a growing lack of trust in our culture, really a default emotion, and this is a problem. One of the reasons why this is a problem is because, like we said, like any growing relationship, any growing healthy community, there needs to be a level of, hey, let's do this together, and I can trust that you're going to pull your weight, and I'm going to pull mine, and we're going to go in and accomplish whatever it is that the task requires. And if it's in a home, if it's in a workplace, there needs to be some trust. And so with this growing distrust, how do you solve it? It's obviously by doing, trust falls and other trust building activities.
If I could just get every politician to catch me in a trust fall.
Followed by a pizza party, and all of a sudden we're singing
voting for
Kumbaya and everybody trusts each other. No, it's more complicated than that. And so we're going to share a formula with you. And this formula is not our own. This is actually a formula that they have researched and they've tested, and they've seen that if these 3 ingredients are involved, then trust is built. And so what is the formula? Here it is. It is transparency plus empathy plus consistency equals trust. Transparency plus empathy plus consistency equals trust. And so we're going to kind of drill down very quickly on each of these 3. And I would encourage you, as you're listening to this, even to be asking yourself, okay, which one might I need to work on? If you've got an environment that you want to build trust in, which one do you need some work? And I would like you at the end of the episode just kind of identify, okay, here's the one, and this is what I'm going to do starting today or tomorrow to start building deeper trust in there. Because honestly, you remove one and the trust quotient dips dramatically. And so all 3 are very important. Which one do you think might be your one? All right, so let's talk about transparency for a moment. Several years ago, I was working under the leadership of a pastor, and I remember we were in a meeting, and he was kind of giving some insights, and he shared how he would encourage us not to be too transparent. And he went on to explain how when he's done that and shared maybe a story where he's seen in maybe a negative light or at least a vulnerable light, that he got some criticism and he felt like he lost credibility with people. So be careful not to be too transparent. And I remember hearing that and just thinking, that hasn't been my experience. And I think I shared, something to that extent. And then it dawned on me like, okay, maybe there was a time though where that was more true. That there might have been a time in our world where everybody wanted to see their leaders and their pastors, whoever their hero is, as being, impervious. They're a step above everybody else. They're living a life of perfection that you and I could only dream of achieving. But today, that is not the case. Today, it seems as though if you're too polished, if you have the answer for everything, if you're never opening up and being vulnerable, most people are just going to say, what are they selling? Like, what are they hiding? Because no one is that squeaky clean. Yeah.
I was just gonna tag and say like that's part of the problem with like the state of politicians and stuff is because we've created a system where if somebody admits fault, then everyone dogpiles.
Yeah.
And so no one admits fault.
Yeah.
And then we're suspicious of everyone.
Yes.
And so like we don't allow for any like and everything gets weaponized, and so like we're trying to live in that too, because I think that that's melted into all of our culture. Well, like we see a teacher do something that they shouldn't, or admit fault, or blow up on a kid, and somebody filmed it. Let's all
Sure.
dogpile, right?
Yeah.
Or any local like person that gets caught on camera doing something that they shouldn't, or had a bad day. Everyone's gonna let them know in the comments how awful they are, and so like none of us want to get caught, and
Yeah.
so we're not gonna admit. Right? Like, we're gonna be really tight hold on everything,
Which doesn't create a great climate for transparency.
which we want.
Which we want because
Deep
that's
down.
what you need. In
Yeah,
fact,
yeah.
another way to say this is people may be impressed by our strengths, but they connect with our weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I know we've probably all had that experience where we're impressed with that guy, we're impressed with that woman in the office because they're the ones that are always problem solving, and they're the ones that are always, getting things right, and they've got perfect hair, and they've got perfect children, and everything's perfect, and we kind of secretly hate them. It's like, oh my gosh, there they go again, right? They're always so perfect, and then you hear that maybe things aren't going so well in this area of their life, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I love that guy. He's just like me, right? We have that tendency. And so again, people may be impressed by our strengths, but they connect with our weaknesses. Josh, I want to ask you, when have you experienced trust growing because someone was transparent, when someone lived transparency out well?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I love it when somebody is honest about something that they've messed up in. It just makes me trust them all the more. But like with that, I've tried to apply it. I don't get it right all the time, because it's really easy to just be like, I don't want anybody to know about like this mistake or something that I forgot. But like, there's times where I've seen it just really help with building trust within the leaders that are under me. Whenever I've been like, hey, like I just want to be honest, like this specific week, I've dropped the ball on this, or maybe it's something like I just didn't feel like maybe it wasn't something I messed up in, but it was something that I felt bad about. Like I maybe got off the stage and said, guys, I just don't think that one was the best one, if I'm being honest. Or I let this kid and a word they said get to me. I've noticed that like peeling back those layers and being honest and being vulnerable with somebody and kind of putting like we just talked about like what they can, I mean, the world can weaponize your vulnerability. I know when Jonathan has been vulnerable or any other person has been vulnerable with me, I felt a layer of they've trusted me with this.
Yeah, good call.
And so I naturally am going to trust them more. If they're willing to talk about these things, then I'm willing to open up more too. I don't know if that makes sense.
I absolutely. In fact, when it comes to transparency, we typically have our insecurities, right? We have our fears, and so it's difficult to unpeel those vulnerabilities. But when you're doing it with somebody who either you're wanting to build some trust with, or you already have a level of, I think I can trust them, it really typically just enhances that type of relationship. So how do we do it though? Because I think there is a point where you can overshare, right? You can probably be a little too transparent. Like you don't want to be the guy who's walking in the meeting and going like, "Oh man, last night was rough. I had the worst case of violent diarrhea that I've ever." Like no one wants to be that guy. I mean, transparent certainly, but unless that conversation is being had with a doctor, like probably inappropriate. And so there is a level of how do you keep it so it's appropriate. And so I just want to offer a key thought for this, and that is to ask the question when you're thinking, okay, what should I share? What should I not share? Ask the question, what's the goal of this information? Will it build trust, improve communication, or will it cause confusion? And I know for me, as a communicator, on Sunday mornings on the stage, one of the ways that I do this is I try my best to share stories in such a way, particularly, personal stories, in such a way where people realize, okay, he's a work in progress. He's not got it all figured out, so he's not the one preaching as the perfect example. Now, there's times where it's like, hey, I'm going to share how I'm living this out and the impact that it's had on my life.
Yeah.
But usually it's tried to, but I haven't always been there, right? Or even when, an example of this was a few weeks ago, I shared a story of my poor behavior at a UK football game, right? And I didn't want to share it. Like, it was like, I don't want to, I was such an idiot, and I was just being so selfish and just rude, and I didn't want to share it, but I did have several people say, hey, it was nice to know that, hey, you're just like us, and I even do this with my kids. If there's an area that, it's a serious conversation, I'll oftentimes start it off with hey, I've actually kind of failed in a similar area. Let me share that story, and now let's talk about where you had a misstep.
Yeah.
And so they're already knowing, Dad's not perfect, Dad struggled with it, he's working with me, and so it just builds trust. And so again, just be thinking through what would be a good strategy. How have you? How do you try to live out transparency in order to build trust?
Yeah, I think it's just that honesty, like trying to, when I see a moment of available with volunteers, like I'm gonna admit it. I'm gonna tell them, like, this is what's going on. Like, this is how I'm feeling about it. And I don't think I get this right all the time, but there are times where, like, I haven't even made a decision about something yet, and I'll tell volunteers, and I think this is where I've seen it actually grow a lot, especially one-on-one, where I'm like, hey, I know this is a problem that you're talking about, and I agree that it's an issue. I'll be honest with you, the reason I've not pulled a trigger on anything is because I'm still thinking through X, Y, and Z. And then normally, like, they'll see my point. They'll understand where I'm coming from. They'll put on my shoes to some degree. And then sometimes, that doesn't always go over well. I've definitely had moments where I've felt like that pastor that probably had a moment where you were vulnerable and somebody used that against you. But at the same time, I've noticed that for every one person that uses it against you, there's normally like 5 or 6 others that see that and trust you even more.
Yeah.
Right?
I would say even with the UK football game story, I had one person that kind of did a shaking his finger, like, you're not very nice. And it was like, well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
But then there were 6 that were like, hey, thank you for that.
And I don't know if you're this way, but like when I see somebody like, Jonathan told you this and now you're telling me and you're telling me about how awful he is, and I'm like, he told you that, right? Like he admitted that. Like, that's a good thing. So I don't know. I think we're also naturally defensive against the opposite of what we hear. That's something that Justin Ross always has said, is like, be the very first person in every single situation to admit fault. Right. Because normally people will come into meetings when there's something that's wrong, defensive, and so they'll naturally be defensive of you because you admitted fault. Whereas if you say, I didn't do anything wrong, they're gonna go on the attack, right?
That's good.
And so I don't know, transparency. Don't weaponize it, but it can definitely be good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the first portion of this formula is transparency. Second is empathy. And I'm gonna share something that, honestly, it's gotten a little cliche at this point, but the idea behind this empathy is people don't care what you say until they know how much you care. And again, it's a little cliche at this point, but you can tell people all the things that you want them to know and believe, but they don't trust you. They don't care what you're saying until they actually know that you care. Henry Cloud, we've talked about Henry a time or two. He wrote a book on trust, and this is how he said it. It says, you don't talk yourself into a trusting relationship, you listen your way into it. What do you think that means?
Yeah, when I first heard that, I just thought, like, it literally does not matter the words typically. It matters if you made sure that what they said was something that you got. Did you put yourself in their shoes? Did you really grasp what they were trying to tell you? and your answer to them typically will not matter as much as them just knowing that you understood.
Yeah.
So
Have you seen someone do this well, or have you been able to do it well in your life?
yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind is marriage. like
Okay, yeah.
like my marriage has gotten a lot of I guess built of trust between Emily and I when empathy is done well, right? When I understand where she's coming from, maybe it's the time that she's upset at me, but most of the time it's how I approach how she's upset at something else.
Okay.
If it started with anger, or she just looks upset, the words I choose and then how much I choose to listen really can matter, and it will matter for the rest of the evening, like whether or not she's in a good mood and she's with me, or
Right.
whether or not she's kind of sequestered off.
Sure.
And so empathy, I mean, in relationships with students too, can be huge, but people just want to be understood. And then most of the time I've had to learn in marriage especially, empathy is more important than the problem solving.
Yeah.
Half the time. Like Emily doesn't want me to fix it.
Yeah.
She just wants me to understand where she's coming from.
Yeah.
She's smart enough. She can fix it.
Yeah.
Like she knows how to, she just needs somebody to know how she's feeling. And so learning that can be huge for not only, your job and your work, but I think marriage is one of the biggest times when empathy is important.
Yeah. If you're just immediately going into problem solving mode,
Ugh.
you're communicating, well, this is simple. This is not a big deal. Let's just move on. And it's like, hey, I can't trust you even with the smallest of details without you kind of dismissing my emotions and just moving on to fix it. It's going to break trust.
Yeah, I think with Emily, it came down to her almost feeling like I didn't think she could fix it.
Right.
Right? Like I was smarter than she was. When I'm telling her, I'm not trying to make her feel that way, but I wasn't listening enough, right? I was just immediately, and part of that could be true. There's a selfishness to jumping into problem solving first, because you're just can we get past this? You know?
Yes.
Can we go on to enjoying the evening?
Yes.
And it's I don't need to be that way, right? I need to be in the moment and choosing to listen. So.
And I think we've probably all been in relationships, not even maybe a marriage relationship, where we've opened up, we've shared, and now it's like, I don't trust you enough to even share these things anymore.
Yeah.
Because of that dismissive nature. So empathy is a really big deal. I want to share kind of a simple strategy to create a level of trust using empathy, and it really is just 4 words. It's the I notice and you matter. So communicating, hey, I noticed and you matter. So one of the ways that we practice it here as a staff is when we gather for a staff meeting, there's typically kind of a leadership thought, a devotional, and then afterwards, whoever's leading that portion of the meeting will go around the room and they'll just share a I noticed and you matter thought, just a word of encouragement. So it might be as simple as, hey Josh, I noticed you're spending a wonderful amount of time developing the musicians in our church. And my goodness, I've noticed that this has actually led to such a great, vibrant worship team. I don't think we've ever been more on point. Even when you're on vacation, it's something that you can kind of turn over to your team. And I don't think we would be having the level of worship that we would have if it wasn't for you putting in that stuff. And so it's I noticed what you're doing, and you matter. What you've just done matters. And we can communicate this even when it comes to your own workplace. It's I noticed that you're the guy or you're the woman who is here first and you leave late. You're really creating a culture of excellence around here, and we wouldn't be as successful as we are if it wasn't for you. You can do it with Emily. You can do it with your spouse. It's oh man, your hair looks amazing today. You did something different. Oh no, you didn't? Well, it looks like you did, right? It's the I noticed and it matters type of communication. And so the thought here is to build trust. It's not about us looking well. It's about us loving well. So transparency. We've got empathy, and then the third here is consistency. Now, I was I was in a gathering of leaders, and the communicator just asked the question like, "Hey, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you've ever been led by a leader who was very inconsistent." And all these hands, right? All these hands start going up. And when I also had my hand, go up, it was kind of a, huh, okay, if we've all experienced this, odds are that I have probably been inconsistent
Yeah.
in my leadership as
Yeah.
well. It's the question that I think we all need to ask. Those people that you're wanting to build trust with, those people who are closest to you, are they wondering any given day, like, what version of you is going to show up?
Yeah.
Like, is that version of you who's the the really excitable, maybe hummingbird type of person swoops in, is like just really excited and let's tackle this and let's accomplish this, and there's so much energy. Everybody loves that version of you. Or are you going to be the seagull version of you who swoops in, like poops on everybody, and then soars away? Like, what version of you are people wondering?
Steals snacks.
What's that?
I said
Steal
steals
some
snacks.
snacks,
I'm just
drop
kidding.
some poop, and then
Yeah.
soars off. And I think probably plenty of people who are listening right now, if you're honest with yourself, you do have some inconsistency. Maybe you're changing your mood every 2 hours. Maybe you're changing your key goals every week. Maybe you're changing your, hey, this is what we're going to do this quarter. These are the objectives, like every single month. And what does this create in those around you? It creates a level of insecurity. I don't know what version of the person it's going to be today, and that leads to a lack of trust.
100%.
Josh, how have you seen inconsistency build insecurity and a lack of trust?
Yeah, I think specifically with projects or like people under you and stuff, at least, I can't speak for people and how they view me. I know that I've not been super consistent at times, and that's where transparency can sometimes help rebuild the trust. But when it comes to trusting volunteers to do stuff, I've noticed with the ones that are inconsistent, it actually doesn't help me at all to give them anything because I'm creating backups, I'm constantly checking in, I'm being kind of a hover leader, and it's like, at this point, it was almost more work to ask you to do something because I'm worried about it, and it's like that's not like that doesn't build trust, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a clear sign of distrust of my volunteer, and I think consistency. Like we've all had those people that we know. It just feels so good when we know when we give them something that it's gonna get done.
Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes like the one thing you have to check in with them is, hey, I heard, you just broke both your legs and you had a kid and you agreed to do this. Are you sure? And they're going to get it done.
Right.
But at what it costs. Like you can give it back to me. I can give it to somebody else. But like they're so consistent that they'll do anything to make sure that it's done. And I love, like those are such a breath of fresh air. They give you peace. They give you time to work on other things. And so, man, like those are the best people. Out of all the three, like I want all three, but like consistency is huge.
It is.
Because if you're consistent with the things that you do, with the things that you're trusted with, like that just makes me want to give you more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
In fact, we're going to give you just kind of one more little strategy, and this is really for those of you who have some influence and maybe some leadership, but this could be for parents, right? This can be for teachers. This can be for those who are over teams of ministry.
Yeah.
But this is a strategy that we would encourage you because it's gonna allow the consistency not only for your own leadership, but hopefully for those that you're leading. And the idea here is make sure that you have set clear expectations.
Yeah.
You got to make sure, like, be clear on what you expect. Second, reward it when you see it. And third, correct it when you don't. So I'm going to say those again. Be clear on what you expect, reward it when you see it, and correct it when you don't. I can't tell you how many times I've been talking to leaders, or I've observed a group, and the leadership team is just like so frustrated and they're feeling like they're going to throw in the towel, and I'm like, Well, yeah, of course you're frustrated and you wanted to throw in the towel. You were never clear on the expectations that you had for the people under you. And in fact, I've seen you actually reward the wrong behavior, like particularly with kids. And so you're coddling the one who's an actual terror, and so they're going to continue to be a terror because they get your attention, and that's not the way that you need to reward. Instead, you need to correct that guy's behavior. And so one strategy would be maybe as a parent, like just get really clear on this is the level of behavior that we're going to be having as a family. And then when you see it and it's done well, you reward it. Oh my gosh, you were so well behaved. You get to stay up 30 extra minutes tonight, watching whatever show you want, reward it somehow. Maybe that's not the best strategy, but you know what, reward it. And then when it doesn't happen, well, correct it. Say, hey, the way you sassed mom, you know that that's not what we do in this family. Do it again, and there's going to be some consequences. And this creates a level of consistency that builds trust in the home.
100%.
And you can apply this, of course, to any area. Kind of the big idea here is, if you're going to build trust, you need to be, it's not what you do occasionally, right? It's what you do consistently that's going to build that trust. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think you've said this before, but like a big idea here that I've seen, and Emily, even as a school teacher, shares all the time, is like make sure that your yes is yes and your no is no. With kids especially, if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, if you're a small group leader or a youth pastor or whatever, if you make clear boundaries and say this is a no-go and then they do it and there's no consequence,
Right.
then not only do you lose trust in their eyes who got away with it, but you lose trust in every person who saw that person get away with it. You lose trust in your volunteers to know that if they get on them that you're going to back them up. And there's just a lot of like, Emily, I think this is just a natural like complaint about any principal at any school ever. So don't hear this about ACHS. But there are times where like principals will make it very clear like this is wrong. And then you'll write up kids to do it. And then Emily's like, I see them back in the class like 5 minutes later with a lollipop. And it's just like,
Yeah.
like where are our boundaries there, right?
Yeah.
Like if you said this is like it, then we need to make sure that it's it, right?
Yeah.
And so like in all things, like make sure that your yes is yes and your no is no. And none of us are perfect, so be transparent when it's not. But try to do your best.
And so now is the time for you to kind of self-reflect and determine, okay, out of these three, which one are you going to work on? Transparency, empathy, or this last one, consistency? Josh, I'm just curious. If you had to pick one that you're like, yeah, that's going to be the one?
I just want to be more consistent.
Yeah.
Like and I've been working on it. But that one's a hard one because it's an everyday mentality of these are the values I'm going to choose. And I'm going to live by them regardless of the ebb and flow of the day. But yeah, I've been learning to say no more.
Yeah, good. I'm going to ask him to do something important. He's like, you know what, Jonathan? Nah, I'm not going to do that. Mine would be empathy. I'm going to work on the empathy one. Yeah, I could just get, in my own little driven little world, and it's like, yeah, I know you got problems, but I got my own, so figure it out, right? So that's what I'm going to work on. We would encourage you to dial down on the one that you're going to work on, because life is so much better with God, really trusting, growing, faithful community and purpose. Until next time, I hope that you live it out.